Hello there, dear viewer. Well, hello there, dear viewer. Let's go back to Skyrim, or even to Oblivion in some sense, because this is Oblivion class restoration project where we make generic character ideas great again. This is the Spellsword, a real simple build with some boom boom. So to make this girl play differently to my Battlemage or my horribly OP SwordMage, links in the description, I went for a warrior gameplay first with some magic support. There is a total of maybe 5 or 6 spells you are going to need on a regular, but heavy armor and block perks will be responsible for most of your combat effectiveness. You will have a rather small magicka pool, that's the only thing you will have small, of course. I'm sorry, but you will absorb some magicka from enemies and regain some on blocking, so the build forces you to switch from pure warrior gameplay to sword and spell, and then to warrior again. For the mods we have Vokrii, Summermyst, Morningstar, Odin, and for legendary difficulty honed metal. As per usual, I tried this without honed metal, just unperked smithing and enchanting, but it is underperforming a little bit without some really strong enchantments on legendary. On master it's a death machine, but I guess that's obvious for a finished build. Also, a little mod called Unarmed Hotkey. If you are on PC, it makes the switch from a single weapon to sword and spell much easier and seamless. The Spellsword is agile in her heavy armor, a very skillful duelist with her katana, and she enhances her swordsmanship with fire spells and with a very bad temper. She has the Spite ability. You see, it buffs your damage when on low health, so she enjoys a little bit of pain. It makes her more focused. She came to Skyrim hoping to find the Akaviri temple she once read about. Akaviri history and culture, their mystery and their combat techniques always appealed to her. She will try to stay away from the Dark Elf Nord conflict in Windhelm. She left Morrowind for a reason. She dislikes the temple, she dislikes the great houses. If you ask her, the Dunmer are kind of to blame for their own misfortunes, and she most likely got herself into more than one bar fight over this issue back home. And she obviously enjoyed those fights. She will probably find some Nord friends with her attitude, despite all the prejudice and all the hard feels, yes. For the race we have a Morningstar Dark Elf with their racial ability encouraging you to stay low on HP, and with substantial passive ongoing damage we are about to deal, every combat escalates rather rapidly. You need to take risks, but the enemies also risk quite a lot if they stay close to you for too long. I used the most OP Summermyst enchantment, Death Shroud, the one that kills low health enemies if they stay close to you for too long. It's OP, I know, it's cheap, it's gamey, it's horrible, I'm abusing the system. Because of the Spite ability, we need a lot of HP, otherwise staying below 50% HP is a little bit too risky to my taste at least, so the attribute spread is 1 magicka, 3 health and 1 stamina. The standing stone is plain and simple the vanilla Atronach naturally combined with the Atronach. This encourages you to take some spells to the face and often offsets low magicka, seems very suitable to the risky combat style. Now, without Morningstar, the High Elf would probably be my race of choice, or a Breton obviously, but it's just the Dark Elves go so well with the fire magic, you know. For the main skills we have one-handed heavy armor, block, destruction, alteration, illusion and restoration. This is a bit much, but that's what the Oblivion class had. Illusion is mostly irrelevant and used pretty much only because of the Oblivion class. The fear spells can be occasionally useful, though. In one-handed we take everything you'd expect from a fully developed warrior, so all the sword perks, victory rush and all the power attack perks on the right, but since the build is a little bit expensive in terms of perk points, I only took 1 rank of overpowering assault. Since we kinda like taking damage and use restoration spells, we don't necessarily need to maximize all the defensive capabilities. Victory Rush will solve low stamina problems, so it is advised to take it as soon as you can, maybe even rush the skill a bit with some paid training or something. Valorous Charge can also be skipped for this one if you have a better idea for a perk point. It's great for closing the gap fast, but if there is some distance between you and your enemy, you would probably prefer to let them approach you as you spam the wildfire, flames or fireballs, depending on your level. In heavy armor we take everything but cushioned and glancing blows. Pretty much every perk there will be a noticeable boost. Face of Death is necessary because what's the point in making a spellsword with Summermyst if you can't use Amplify Destruction, which is the enchantment that goes only on jewelry and clothing. Also, Elemental Defense combines greatly with Alter Self, removing the need to use enchantment slots for magic defense. Also some perks in this skill reward you for taking a beating, which we like to do anyway due to spite. In block we take a bare minimum necessity for the duelist gameplay, so the right hand branch up to Dragon Tail with the only one rank of Deadly Bash, and the middle up to Block Runner. Quite a few others like Quick Reflexes and Weapon Block would be nice to have, but go there only if you know you want to stay with the character way beyond level 50. Again, a rather perk hungry build, unfortunately. Dragon Tail gives you a lot of crowd control, which as always combines nicely with the power attack perks, but here with the significant ongoing damage we deal with a Flame Cloak and Wildfire, it also means a lot of enemies will be completely unable to harm you before your Death Shrouds evaporate them. Speaking of spells in destruction, go for all the cloak spell perks on the right. This will protect you against elemental damage even more and deal even more lingering ongoing damage. Then of course all the fire perks and Hellstorm. Scorched Earth perk should be forbidden by the Geneva Course, but since it isn't, we will abuse it in narrow and small spaces to completely obliterate everything. Alteration will as usual be immensely helpful, although surprising taking the Battlemage perk turned out to be almost useless. You see, after you cast your Cloak and Blazing Strikes, you will go either Sword and Firehand spell or pure Duelist with your left hand empty. The latter will actually happen more often, especially early in the game, so the buff of the Battlemage will kick in quite rarely. Alter Self, improving your elemental defense, will change much more in your overall power level. Okato's Preparation will save you a lot of magicka, and there is simply a lot of perks more important to the combat style than the Battlemage. However, if you are using Apocalypse spells, Okato's Recital specifically, you will have even more magicka to use with the Fire Hand, in which case Battlemage will become slightly more attractive, so keep this in mind if you are going to use Apocalypse. Alter Self should be used to raise magicka and then improve frost and shock resistance. Fire resistance is handled by Race and Elemental Shield. Then in Restoration we need Respite, because we may drop to 0 stamina relatively easily, and with this perk we can easily fix it with a fast healing spell. Mercy will also be nice, since it works best on low health, and we wanna stay low on health quite often if possible. Then, if the tension becomes too much to bear, fast healing spell will help, and is rather cheap, and you will never need any single stronger and more expensive healing spell than fast healing, actually. In fact, at times the best tactics will be to simply stand there with your Fire Cloak on, absorbing all the magicka from hostile spells and nearby mobs, while repeatedly casting fast healing and waiting for Death Shroud to kick in. This weird and kind of time-consuming, but works. Our main weapon is an Akaviri Katana bearing the Balefire enchantment, which deals ongoing fire damage until you detonate it with a power attack. A power attack which should cause yet another explosion with the Blazing Strikes spell. The katana has a nice weight to damage ratio, so it is useful for low stamina builds. If you have some short sword mods, by all means use a short sword for this one. Then we want Fortify one-handed on boots and gauntlets, Amplify Distraction on circlet and necklace, Death Shroud on chest piece, and Siphon Magica on the ring. Amplify Distraction items especially must be made with the best honed metal services you can get. You won't find any pre-enchanted circlets or necklaces with this enchantment, unfortunately, which is an oversight of the mod, I would say. Siphon Magica is best late game, but with your attributes spread, you need all the help you can get. The importance of Death Shroud has already been explained, so let's look at the spell list. These are the ones in near constant use, but a few others, like Resist Elements, Vulnerability or Corrosion even, may also prove useful. Shield of Sanctuary, I can't speak that. Shield of Sanctuary will let you easily regain Magicka when you switch to the Duelist combat style, allowing for a switch back to Firehand Blazing Strikes combo. Wildfire has the Afterburn effect, like most fire spells, so you can use it very effectively, much like the Flames spell, by quickly tapping instead of holding your spell key, thus stacking the Afterburn. This will be really useful before enemies get in the melee range and increases your chances to use the OP Scorched Earth perk to your advantage. So that's quite brilliant. That's these. The build is these. Hello there, fellow kids. I speak your language. Lol. It is done and dusted. Anyway, this is everything. This is all that needed to be said for this one, I think. It seems rather simple. Plays a lot like some of my Oblivion characters because of the Odin spells, the short-range Odin spells, and pretty much nothing else except Wildfire for combat. It's also quite simple. I had much more powerful, but this doesn't require any excessive crafting, no super expensive spells, and no endgame superb weapons. It's just these and easy to make. With that said, I hope we will see each other again, dear viewer. Bye bye.